The formidable Rasengan exploded with a thunderous roar. The surging chakra seemed ready to tear Kabuto apart. His body was hurled backwards, and when the dust settled, a deep crater was smashed into the rock behind Kabuto, and a vast ravine was left on the ground. Naruto's sudden burst of power caught the attention of the legendary Sannin of Konoha present. The seemingly stunned kid was actually using such a high-level ninjutsu. Tsunade was in disbelief. Naruto had really learned Rasengan within a week. Kabuto struggled to his feet, gasping heavily in weakness. The wound on his abdomen was ghastly, and Naruto's condition wasn't much better. With days and nights of training coupled with intense battle, his body was already overburdened, his vision blurred, and he collapsed straight down. Tsunade hurried to check on him, but noticed Kabuto was still scheming. Before being hit by Rasengan, he had used Chakra to heal himself. Though unable to fully recover in such a short time, he still had the strength to fight. Thus, Naruto's all-out Rasengan did not fundamentally change the course of the battle. However, as Kabuto confidently advanced a few steps, he felt his body lose control again. He had underestimated the power of Naruto's move. Upon examination, Tsunade discovered Naruto was on the brink of death, as Kabuto had used a chakra blade to sever the muscles around his heart, causing arrhythmia. Tsunade hurriedly opened Naruto's clothing to start emergency treatment. But Kabuto was unconcerned. Because he had disrupted the meridian system that restored Kurama's power, even Tsunade could not bring Naruto back from the brink. After some treatment, Naruto's condition did not improve. Instead, his heartbeat stopped. Tsunade was plunged into endless despair. Was Naruto going to pass away from her like Dan and Nawaki? At that moment, in a space within Naruto, a light was slowly fading away. But with the falling of clear droplets, the darkness receded. Naruto reached out his hand towards Tsunade's necklace. Even now, Naruto had not forgotten his bet with Tsunade. The tenacity of the Uzumaki clan was beyond ordinary. Naruto's vital signs gradually stabilized. Clearly, his life was saved. Tsunade wept. Naruto had not only fulfilled his nindo, but also redeemed Tsunade. This time, she decided to bet on Naruto, while Jiraiya and the opposing Orochimaru kept a close watch on Naruto's condition. Upon realizing Naruto's potential, Orochimaru suddenly wanted to kill him, determined not to let this child fall into Akatsuki's hands. As Orochimaru made a move towards Naruto, Jiraiya immediately followed, but Orochimaru turned and threw out his tongue, slamming Jiraiya to the ground. Then he dashed at breakneck speed towards Naruto. In a critical moment, Tsunade unhesitatingly blocked in front of Naruto, taking the blade of the great snake through her chest. This scene was beyond everyone's expectation. Orochimaru's face grew stern. Though cold-blooded and ruthless, the one person he did not wish to kill was Tsunade. And if Naruto continued to live, everything that followed would be very troublesome. But for Tsunade, she must protect this child at all costs. Orochimaru was puzzled. Why would Tsunade risk her life for a genin? Tsunade paused silently. She understood that to protect Konohagakure, she had to do this. If there had to be a reason, it was because this child would someday become Hokage. Orochimaru scoffed at this, because to him, Hokage was trash. Just days ago, Tsunade had said the same to Jiraiya. Memories of the past shrouded Tsunade's mind. To quell turmoil, to seek peace. For this ideal, even risking life was worth it. It was only now that Tsunade truly understood how heavy these words were. She trembled as she stood up, her eyes clear and resolute. Seeing this, Orochimaru no longer held back. His blade swung, directly across Tsunade's chest. Blood spilled everywhere. Tsunade immediately fell. Orochimaru continued, sword in hand, approaching Naruto. Jiraiya frantically made hand seals trying to stop him, but it was too late. Blood sprayed in the air. The severely injured Tsunade blocked Naruto once again. Orochimaru was also shocked, unbelieving that this woman could still move. Facing Orochimaru's threat of death, Tsunade was fearless, because she had said she would gamble with her life from now on. Although she could barely protect herself, she still had to endure. Furious, Orochimaru kicked Tsunade to the ground. If she could not overcome her fear of blood, no matter how strong her vitality, Tsunade could only be beaten. Orochimaru, from a high position, continuously provoked her with words. When asked why she would fight for Konohagakure, Tsunade's trembling body regained calm. Without waiting for Orochimaru to be ready, she kicked him flying. Tsunade said, "Because I am the 5th Hokage of Konohagakure." At the same time, she released the strength of 100 seal. At the moment she decided to accept the position of Hokage, Tsunade overcame her inner fears. Orochimaru thought Tsunade was at the end of her rope, but then he saw her form hand seals, her wounds covering her body, miraculously healed in an instant. Even the well-versed Orochimaru had never seen such ninjutsu, and this was the gambler Tsunade's ace in the hole. She had long accumulated chakra in her forehead, using this vast amount of chakra to stimulate various proteins, rapidly increasing the rate of cell division, allowing cells to rebuild. This was not just recovery ability, but regenerative ability, meaning she was virtually immortal in battle. But all ninjutsu have their weaknesses and flaws. The number of times a cell can divide in a lifetime has an upper limit. This speed up of division consumed her life. Tsunade made hand seals with her blood. Seeing this, Orochimaru quickly rushed to Kabuto's side. Jiraiya also immediately made rapid hand seals. The battle of the legendary Sannin of Konoha officially began. They simultaneously initiated the summoning jutsu. The real fight had just begun. Gamakichi immediately took his younger brother to the side to avoid the fray. The legendary Sannin of Konoha, once comrades in arms, now faced each other as irreconcilable foes. It was time to settle years of grievances. Manda appeared defiant. It was very dissatisfied with Orochimaru's summoning. Especially in such a troublesome situation, Kabuto tried to soothe the irritable Manda, even though Orochimaru was its master. Given Manda's temperament, if it knew about Orochimaru's crippled hands, it might have rebelled on the spot. Tsunade then instructed Katsuyu to take Naruto to Shizune to ensure she had no worries behind her. Gamabunta took a deep puff of his pipe, then provocatively blew smoke in Manda's face. This act completely enraged Manda, and they immediately came to blows. At this point, the name of the legendary Sannin of Konoha might as well end here. Saying so, a mouthful of acid slime aimed straight at Manda, but Manda's speed was incredibly fast. It twisted its body to dodge the attack and quickly counterattacked. Manda opened its mouth to bite. Gamabunta immediately drew his sword to help. After a missed strike, the trio suddenly fell into a stalemate, then transformed into clones, escaping Manda's deadly grip. Jiraiya formed hand seals with both hands, coordinating with Gamabunta to cast Toad Oil Flame Bullet, but after the scorching, only Manda's shattered husk remained. Unbeknownst to them, the shedding Manda had already burrowed underground and was waiting for the right moment to strike. Gamabunta reacted quickly, grabbing Manda's tail in one go, but this was only a feint. Just as Jiraiya and Gamabunta were about to be doomed, Tsunade swung a large sword from the sky, pinning Manda in place. Just as Manda was trapped and unable to move, Orochimaru used his tongue to strangle Tsunade's neck. Even if Tsunade could regenerate, if her head was strangled off, she presumably couldn't come back. But he never expected Tsunade could forcefully break free. His tongue instead became a weak point in the battle. Long-angered Tsunade aimed a punch at Orochimaru, hitting him with no chance to retaliate. Orochimaru was tossed in the air, continuously struck by powerful blows, but Tsunade's chakra was almost depleted. At this point, she could only continue to exert her strength. Orochimaru tried the same tactic again, using his tongue to approach Tsunade with the intention of surprising her with the hidden Kusanagi sword in his mouth. But Tsunade had already seen through his intent. The situation seemed overwhelmingly against him, but Tsunade sensed something was amiss. Tsunade gathered chakra in her hand. A straight punch hit Orochimaru squarely in the face. Such terrifying force sent Orochimaru flying tens of meters away. Seeing the situation was bad, Manda left a few harsh words before fleeing. Thick smoke filled the battlefield. Jiraiya and others were surprised to find Orochimaru had once again stood up. Even if Tsunade didn't treat him, Orochimaru had other ways to revive his hands. He had somehow taken over someone else's body. Orochimaru had always been seeking immortality, but who would have thought he would resort to such cruel methods? He escaped into the ground, retreating. Kabuto also used the cover of a smoke bomb to make his escape. Jiraiya wanted to pursue, but he no longer had the strength to continue. Thus, The battle concluded. Tsunade's body had reached its limit, but thinking of Naruto's determined expression brought a warm feeling to her heart. This child's every action reminded her so much of her deceased loved ones. The side effects of the Seal of 100 Heals soon became apparent. Tsunade visibly aged, turning into what a 50-year-old woman should look like. Although Jiraiya and Shizune were worried, Tsunade was not seriously harmed and only needed a little rest to regain her youth. Afterwards, the group returned to Short Book Street. When Naruto woke up, he returned to his usual energetic self. Hearing that Tsunade had agreed to become Hokage, he started questioning her. In Naruto's view, Tsunade was hot-tempered and capricious, extravagant and foolish. Tsunade tried to contain her anger at these words, but Naruto continued, saying that despite being a 50-something old lady, she looked young. As a Hokage, is it right to deceive everyone? Tsunade could no longer bear it. She decided to use her fist to shut Naruto up, so the two of them went out into the street to face off again. Tsunade said she would still only use one finger, while Naruto confidently declared that he would be the next Hokage. The battle was about to begin. Tsunade easily knocked off Naruto's forehead protector, but then she kissed him on the forehead. Naruto was stunned. Tsunade gently touched his chest and advised, "Be a good man, and then become an outstanding Hokage." After eating their fill, the group set off on their return journey to Konohagakure. The journey was not in vain for Naruto and his teacher Jiraiya. They had successfully found the next Hokage. As for Tsunade, she found the green leaves that carried the dreams of her most beloved. Before becoming Hokage, Tsunade was less reliable than Jiraiya. She lured Jiraiya to take a dip in the hot springs first. "All girls, and it's mixed bathing," she said. So Jiraiya immediately took a detour. This left Naruto completely baffled. Not far away, two people were secretly watching them. It was a hot springs resort by the river. Initially reluctant, Naruto let loose once he was in the hot springs. Jiraiya found it disappointing. In the large pool, there were only him and Naruto, no beautiful girls as he had hoped. Meanwhile, Tsunade quietly took Shizune to play pachinko. Jiraiya stayed in the hot springs, waiting for beautiful girls to appear. But unfortunately, his hopes were dashed. First a group of monkeys, then a group of burly men, and finally a group of old ladies, some of whom even made advances on him. All in all, his bathing experience was terrible. After the bath, Naruto returned to his room to find it a mess. The necklace Tsunade had given him was gone. Only a debt collection letter remained, signed by the Akagi family. Naruto went to the designated meeting place and saw someone holding his necklace. Without hesitation, Naruto started beating up two men using his shadow clone technique. But after the fight, he realized they were not ninjas, but Tsunade's creditors. It turns out these two were quite pitiful. They were underlings of the Akagi family, tasked 3 years ago with collecting Tsunade's debts. They had resolved not to return until they had collected, but Tsunade was elusive. Today, they finally found Tsunade's whereabouts and tried to steal her necklace as leverage, not realizing it was now Naruto's. They took a beating for nothing. Seeing that Naruto was reasonable, they pleaded with him to help them get Tsunade to pay her debts. Looking at their pitiful faces, Naruto found it hard to refuse. Meanwhile, Tsunade had lost all her money at the pachinko parlor. She sent Shizune to the Hot Springs Inn to get money, but Shizune also received a letter signed by the Akagi family. Naruto was in their hands, and if they wanted him back, they had to pay up. Shizune, flustered, went to find Tsunade, but she had already left. Shizune decided to handle the tricky situation herself. She disguised herself as Tsunade and went to the appointed place, seeing Naruto tied up. Shizune pretended to take out a wallet, saying, "Although there's not much money in here, it can at least cover the interest." Of course, the money was fake, but it was immediately discovered by the other party. Shizune had no choice but to resort to force, spitting silver needles to quickly deal with the two debt collectors. But Naruto had no intention of leaving with her, instead questioning why she wouldn't pay the debts. Those two people who couldn't return home were too pitiful. Shizune was stunned, but the next second, all three of them disappeared. Shizune then realized these were all Naruto's shadow clones, and that Naruto had conspired with them. Hiding in the shadows, Naruto, wanting to help the two collect their debts, concocted a plan. Tsunade carried a large suitcase, which he thought must contain money. Watching Tsunade drinking alone in the room, Naruto thought of a plan. He disguised himself as Shizune and entered Tsunade's room, then took the suitcase before Tsunade could speak. But before he could boast to the two men, a fishing line descended from the sky and hooked the suitcase away. Naruto then accused Tsunade of being a Hokage who completely disregarded the lives of debt collectors. He did not recognize her as a Hokage. While Tsunade was stunned, Naruto cut the fishing line with a shuriken, and the three of them ran off. Tsunade chased after them, almost catching up. Out of necessity, Naruto threw a punch. But unexpectedly, when the smoke cleared, it revealed that Tsunade was actually a transformed little pig. Before Naruto could ponder this, another Tsunade attacked and he hurriedly fled, using the multiple shadow clone technique. The next second, the street was full of Narutos. Tsunade, imitated by many, then stormed in, making the scene very chaotic. The two debt collectors were trampled by a Tsunade, who was still actually Shizune in disguise. The real Tsunade had met an old friend in the pachinko parlor and had been drinking and chatting with them up to this point. The small hot spring town became exceptionally lively. Shizune caught countless Narutos, but they were all shadow clones. With so many people in the hot spring town, she couldn't find the real Naruto for a while. Finally, she had to climb high, and from the rooftop, she spotted the real Naruto, and a group of Tsunades chased after him. By then, Naruto was cornered. Shizune kicked Naruto down, and finally, Naruto was caught. However, the suitcase ended up in the hands of the two debt collectors. When they opened the wallet, they discovered it was just a pile of IOUs. They were completely dumbfounded, but just then, Tsunade and her friend arrived. Tsunade's friend happened to know the head of the Hokage family, leading to a dramatic turn in the debt situation. It turned out that the debt owed to the Hokage family had been paid off by Tsunade a year ago, but Shizune had forgotten. Knowing the truth, Naruto could only sigh, and he sent the two debt collectors away. Naruto asked Shizune why she had tried to stop him when there was nothing in the suitcase. Shizune was embarrassed. She was afraid that if people in the village found out about the IOU in the suitcase, they would oppose Tsunade becoming Hokage. Tsunade didn't mind. She had many IOUs, but had only paid off the Hokage family. Even if Konohagakure temporarily had no Hokage, it still radiated a peaceful and warm atmosphere. In the ninja school, Iruka received the news and ended his classes early. Although teacher Iruka said nothing, Konohamaru still sensed something was off. He hurried to the Hokage's office building and ran into Kotetsu and Izumo. Seeing his grandfather's belongings being moved out of the Hokage office, Konohamaru felt very upset. His grandfather was already being forgotten by the villagers. The new Hokage would become everyone's support. But for Konohamaru, this happy outcome felt especially cruel. He felt it was too soon. Being young, he didn't know how to express his emotions, so he decided to seek an explanation. Fuming, he bumped into Tsunade. Looking at the child, Tsunade couldn't help but scold him, and Konohamaru didn't back down. Shizune arrived just in time to urge Tsunade to go to a meeting, ending the incident. Neji focused on improving his Byakugan and ninjutsu. He could see behind him, spotting 7 birds on a branch 50 meters away. At that moment, Tenten invited him to see the 5th Hokage Tsunade, but Neji was not interested. Looking up, he saw 8 birds flying past. His Byakugan abilities still needed development. The elders were advising the 5th Hokage. After dealing with the 2 elders, Tsunade felt the need to relax. As she walked out, she ran into Naruto, who was urgently requesting Tsunade to go to the hospital to treat a patient. He encountered Shikamaru and his father. Naruto secretly told Shikamaru that this woman was the 5th Hokage. Although she looked young, she was actually over 50. Shikamaru, who disliked trouble and women, felt his world suddenly turn gray. But Shikaku taught his son that she was the strongest and most beautiful ninja in the world. However, in Shikamaru's heart, women were synonymous with trouble. Shikaku immediately said, "Without women, men cannot be born." Watching his father speak so authoritatively, Shikamaru didn't bother to debunk him. At Konohagakure Hospital, Sakura looked troubled. Knowing that Tsunade was there to treat Sasuke, she bowed deeply. The treatment was brief. Green light emanated from her hands as she gently pressed on Sasuke's forehead. Soon, he woke up. Sasuke was pulled into Sakura's arms, and she was tearful. The long days of waiting and suffering turned into endless tears at that moment. Naruto wanted to step forward, but seeing Sakura holding Sasuke tightly, he suddenly felt like an outsider. Naruto signaled Tsunade to hurry and save Kakashi. Kakashi, having awakened, could no longer maintain his composure. Even after being healed, he looked like he was about to faint. Guy was already impatient at his side. Naruto wanted Tsunade to quickly check on his student Lee, but among the three, Lee's condition was the most dire. After glancing at Lee, Tsunade deliberately sent Naruto away. She didn't want Naruto to see the truth and become heartbroken. After a thorough examination of Lee's body, Tsunade gravely announced, "You can no longer be a ninja." Many fragments of bone in Lee's body had embedded themselves into his nerves. Guy couldn't accept this reality and began to speak erratically, even suspecting that this Tsunade was an imposter. However, under Tsunade's stern expression, his protests were ineffective, and Guy fell completely silent. Nevertheless, Tsunade could still perform surgery on Lee, but the success rate of such surgery was only 50%, and failure meant death. Lee wasn't a natural talent. His gift was his hard work and perseverance. Guy recalled how, even after being injured, Lee continued to train rigorously and even swallowed 100 of Guy's special herbal pills for recovery pills that would turn one's face green with just one. Lee desperately took 100, never giving up even as he cried. Yet this relentless and hard-working Lee ended up with such a fate. Listening to Tsunade's advice to find another path, Lee remained silent, then walked out of the hospital room, leaning on a crutch, alone in the dark corridor. Was Lee's path as a ninja really over? Had his darkest moment arrived? Or was it the beginning of a different kind of hope? In the morning, Naruto, neatly dressed, with a gemstone necklace sparkling in the sunlight on his chest, Naruto turned a corner and encountered the despondent Lee, who had now lost direction in life. Naruto was unaware that Lee's ninja career had been declared over. He enthusiastically asked Lee how he was, believing that Tsunade's miraculous skills would surely heal Lee's injuries. Lee looked somber and didn't know how to respond to Naruto. Then Konohamaru arrived and had taken over the Hokage's office, believing it still belonged to his grandfather and that no one could replace him. The office was filled with exploding tags and various traps. Outside the office were the Hokage's guard ninjas. Konohamaru's childish actions undoubtedly disrupted the normal operations of the 5th Hokage. Izumo and Kotetsu had no choice but to break in, but inhaled smoke bombs laced with pepper, causing them to cough incessantly. Just then, Tsunade arrived and scolded them for being slow. Could the Hokage's office really allow a child to cause such chaos? Izumo and Kotetsu explained that the person inside was the 3rd Hokage's grandson, and they were hesitant to be harsh. Tsunade bluntly stated, "I am the granddaughter of the 1st Hokage. Teaching him a lesson might wake him up." Upon hearing this, they were about to use ninjutsu to force Konohamaru out, when Naruto arrived just in time. As Konohamaru's big brother, he pleaded with Tsunade not to be harsh with Konohamaru, promising he would get him to come out peacefully. Tsunade agreed briskly, giving him one day. From outside the door, Naruto began to persuade, but Konohamaru feigned deafness. Naruto gradually lost patience until Konohamaru called him a fool, which angered Naruto, and he charged at the door. Physical means were often the most direct and effective. However, the door was rigged with mechanisms, and a pile of iron pots fell, dazing Naruto. Lee sat alone by the river, the once fiery youth now a melancholic patient. Soon, Sakura came with flowers, and her encouragement and smile were like a tonic to the long, silent Lee. Tsunade, having a rather leisurely time, couldn't find a suitable office space and simply roamed the streets with Shizune, looking for a place to drink and play cards. Fortunately, she had the gentle and reliable Shizune by her side, constantly reminding Tsunade. In the snack shop, the dining table served as her desk, where she could enjoy hot drinks. Shizune managed Tsunade well, since escaping work was not an option. Tsunade reviewed the latest ninja manual, especially the files of Naruto and his peers, surprised and pleased by the different class divisions from the previous generation. However, when she reached Lee's page, Her emotions became complicated. While out for a walk, she happened to see the wandering Lee and felt compelled to do something. Meanwhile, just as Naruto was preparing to use his newly learned Rasengan to blast the door open, Tsunade returned. She silently pushed the door open, easily handling the iron pots with her chakra. The exploding tags she held in her hand and stepped on lost their effectiveness. The obstacles in the way and the boulders above were shattered with one punch. In the face of Tsunade's absolute power, Konohamaru's carefully designed traps were trivial. Her actions were simple and casual. Just when Konohamaru thought he was going to be hit, Tsunade ignored him, took a book from the shelf behind him, and left without ever looking at him. Naruto and Konohamaru went to the cemetery to pay respects to Hiruzen. Konohamaru told Naruto about his restless reasons. The new Hokage would change Konohagakure, and soon Konohagakure would forget his grandfather. Naruto planned to take Konohamaru to find Tsunade. Naruto wants Tsunade to promise not to change Konohagakure and to ensure that everyone in the village remembers Hiruzen. Meanwhile, Tsunade is reading a book. She is very interested in Kabuto's ability to create new cells, thinking it could be helpful for Lee's surgery if applied to patients. Shizune is a bit worried about this, as it completely depends on individual aptitude. Even Tsunade might not be able to learn it. However, Tsunade is composed and says, "There's no way around it after all. I am the 5th Hokage." This statement awakens Konohamaru, who is outside the door. He recalls his grandfather often saying, "There's no way around it, Konohamaru. Your grandfather is the 3rd Hokage." At this moment, he realizes that Konohagakure will not change, and his grandfather will not be forgotten. Inside the ninja school, Iruka reminds the students not to forget about the 5th Hokage's inauguration ceremony tomorrow. Seeing Konohamaru, who has resolved his internal conflict, Iruka breathes a sigh of relief. Lee sits on a bench, reminiscing about his childhood when he had a long black braid. Although he had no sense for chakra, he still tried hard until he first met Guy. Guy's passionate yet inexplicable speech inspired Lee and gave him a direction in life. So what if he couldn't use ninjutsu or genjutsu? He was determined to become the strongest ninja that was his life's creed. When Guy's class was formed, Guy asked everyone to express their dreams. The haughty Neji didn't want to speak, and the shy Tenten also held back. Only Lee boldly stated his dreams. Although he faced ridicule from Neji, he earned praise from Guy. As Guy repeatedly gave him thumbs up, Lee found the role model he would follow for life. The fiery Guy and the laid-back Kakashi always ended up causing some trouble and laughter. The trouble-averse Kakashi suggested playing rock, paper, scissors, presenting it as a legitimate reason luck is part of strength, and it also trains nerve reactions and adaptability. Guy agreed and stated the wager. The loser had to walk around Konohagakure on their hands for 500 laps. Suddenly, a hand landed on Lee's shoulder, interrupting his memories. Looking up, it was his eternally sunny teacher, Guy. Facing his dear teacher, Lee, who had been pretending to be strong since his injury, finally vented his long accumulated stress. In the ninja school, when all other students were learning ninjutsu, and Lee, who could only do taijutsu, saw the disappointed looks from his teacher and the isolation from his peers, he felt a kinship with Naruto, who was similarly ostracized, though Naruto possessed unusual talents and quickly learned forbidden techniques. Lee had his moments of doubt until he met teacher Guy. He believed every word Guy said. "You are a genius of hard work. Just keep at it." But now, Lee was breaking down. His body wouldn't change no matter how hard he tried. He cried uncontrollably, and for the first time, even teacher Guy's encouragement didn't help. He asked his teacher what he should do now. Looking at his disciple, who truly carried on his mantle, Guy felt immense pain. Only as the sun set did Guy finally speak. "If life corners you, you must be prepared to fight with the resolve to face any outcome." He suggested Lee make up his mind about the surgery. Lee hesitated. A potentially fatal surgery made him uncertain. Rock, paper, scissors is a game, but surgery is about life and death. Although luck is part of strength, he couldn't gamble his luck on the success rate of the surgery. Guy smiled slightly and asked Lee to recall what happened after their game of rock, paper, scissors. Guy undoubtedly lost and honored the bet. Although no one supervised him, Guy had the spirit to complete the wager. He walked around the village on his hands for 500 laps from morning to night. enduring the laughter of passers-by until late at night when Lee stopped him to ask why he did it. Guy listed several compelling reasons, which Lee noted down convincingly, and then followed Guy in his unique training method. The memory ends. Two passionate men will not submit to fate. Guy tells Lee, "A heavenly future awaits you. Heaven will surely favor you, a child who has always tried hard. The surgery will succeed. If not, I will die with you." This was Guy's heaviest promise as a teacher. Since meeting his disciple Lee, his Nindo has been to devote his remaining life to training Lee. Lee was deeply moved and threw himself into Guy's arms. At that moment, Lee finally decided to undergo the surgery. Meanwhile, Tsunade had been up all night and finally developed a cell activation technique that increased Lee's surgery success rate to 58%. Tsunade, wearing the Hokage's hat, stood with Jiraiya and two advisors behind her on a high platform. Removing her hat to reveal her beautiful face, she loudly announced that she was the 5th Hokage, ruling over Konohagakure. The whole village cheered together. Past pains had faded, and a new legend was about to begin.